this is a little bit more of an instructional video. I had a request for this, and there is a kind of a grainy video of me playing Blackbird Blossom with one finger, and there were some requests for close-up shots and what's going on. So I finally got around to making this little video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain about why this is a useful technique, playing with one finger. I did a workshop one time with a well-known guitar player, and I demonstrated this technique, and he said, well, that's great, that shows that you can do it, but you'll never use that. And then he just we quit and went on and did something else, and I never got a chance to explain why we were doing this. And it's a valuable practice technique, and at least it has been for me, and you can do whatever you want with it, but for me, playing with one finger has taught me several things, and we're going to go through some of those things. The first thing is done. It's a fun game, for one thing, and it's something that I do in my practice time. It's not something that you're necessarily going to do when you're playing out, but it has produced some positive results that I use in my normal playing with all four fingers. And first thing, it increases your dexterity and your accuracy. As you can see, when you're playing with one finger, I use my middle finger in that case, and I haven't done this in a while, so I'm a little bit rusty on it, but you know, I had to do a lot of jumping around up and down the neck here, and forcing yourself to use one finger, you know, definitely increases that accuracy and dexterity and just motion up and down the neck. So that's one thing. Now you can do scales too. That's fine. But the trouble is when you do a scale, and I did scales for a long, long time. Here's what I found out. You do a G scale, for instance. Now you're going to have to shift positions eventually, or otherwise you're just going to sit in this little scale and you know, run up and down this area. You're going to have to shift position. When you shift positions, you're going to move like this. You're going to move one finger. You're going to come up here, and you're going to get some other notes from the G scale. You see what I'm saying? When you shift from scale to scale, you're going to move your fingers. Now, you would rarely, at least I don't, play a scale and then move to another scale and move to another scale. I'm always sliding from one scale to another, moving my fingers like this, blending the notes in. In fact, I rarely think of scales as such. More what I do is I look at the fingerboard and I think this is the note of that scale. So rather than playing the scales like I just did, and obviously I haven't practiced them a long time because I'm kind of rusty on that, what I do rather is look at linking the notes. So I look at this and I say, where are my G notes? See, that's what I'm doing. Is I'm not really playing a scale. I'm looking. The fingerboard lights up for me. It lights up, and these dots and these spaces are the notes of this that I could use in that scale. And that's how I practice them, because it's boring to me just doing scales up and down and shifting from scale to scale. To me, it's all about the linkage going back and forth. So using one finger to do that will to play your song will kind of force you into that motion thing. You see, you're moving. So playing with one finger helps me develop that moving up and down the neck, dexterity and accuracy. The second thing it does is if I take a fiddle tune like Blackbird Blossom, which I just did, normally I play Blackbird Blossom with all my fingers, more or less like this. You see, I gotta get back into all finger mode now. Okay, sort of like that. By shifting into one finger, it makes me think about which notes are important to the song. I can't play all those notes, and so I have to redo my arrangement so that I can make it work with one finger. So instead of doing this or even this, Well, that's one finger right there, okay? Then the next note is going to be, okay? I can't get this jump from here to here, well, not without a lot of practice, but I can go. There's one finger, you see? And I use slides and pulls and hammer-ons in order to get most of those notes. And so this seemed to me like to be important notes. So I went. And I used the open note to kind of give myself some time. So if you take a fiddle tune and rearrange it to using one finger, you come up with the important notes, the important phrases, and you also force your right hand over here to figure out what it's going to do with some surrounding notes in order to get your sound back up. Because you can't go pinky, pinky, pinky all the time. So when I went up here, up the neck and did Blackberry Blossom, now you could do that, you know, just a single note. But I went ahead and cross-picked it a little bit, so I went. And I did the same thing up here in the low notes in reverse. I took it up to this G note up here, and then I cross-picked the rest of it. Okay, that was interesting, and that's a kind of a neat little break. I mean, it's hard to see how you're going to do that with any more fingers than one. I guess you could do this, you know, kind of walk it back, but then you're going to get stuck over here, and you're going to have to move your finger anyways. And so, really, it's not that bad just using one finger on it and droning it. And you could do this. Let's see, I took another break for Blackberry Blossom. Here it goes like this. Okay? And what I'm doing there is I'm playing the melody up on top and then the harmony notes down below. And that's a very common electric guitar technique too. This really is a one finger deal. You see what I'm doing here? And then that's one finger going down the hill, and then I'm playing another finger up here. What I'm doing here is really, if you want to think of it this way, is two one finger solos. Here's one finger solo, here's another one. And then all I'm doing is linking them together. Now I'm doing a switch here. See, I'm not keeping that because this finger's in the way. I'd have to use a pinky or something, you know, reach down there and get it, because I can't get it here. That's too much. So that's okay. I'm switching fingers, but that's not a big deal. The point is, I came about that arrangement by fooling around with the one finger deal, and I said, oh, you know, I could get these notes. Now I'm gonna have to switch fingers. That's fine, you know. Let's see. Okay? I came around, I made that up by messing around with the one finger approach to see what kind of notes were out there, what kind of notes were surrounding the notes that I wanted to keep. And then I took that idea and I developed it into using all of my fingers. And I switched around here. If you notice, I think I played that with different fingers every time. And that's another thing that playing with one finger does for you, is it develops the kind of dexterity to where if you don't have the right finger, you know, some people get locked into this where this finger has to go here. And as you're improvising and messing around, you may find yourself over here with this finger, and you can switch fingers fairly readily if you're used to playing one finger. See, it's no big deal for me to switch this finger around and play the phrase with this finger, or these two fingers, or whatever. I don't get locked into this, I must use this finger sort of deal. So that's one sort of thing. And then there's another example, like in Gold Rush, for instance. I recorded Gold Rush lots of times on this guitar. Actually, this is a Collins, Customer's Collins D1A. And I recorded Gold Rush. The melody of Gold Rush with all your fingers goes like this. Okay, so it basically kind of runs down to the D note. And David Greer played it with a B like this. So he goes. So I thought that was kind of neat. I thought, well, I'm going to steal that idea. And I was messing with it. And so I went to a B note. The next note is a D. Now I'm cross-picking this. So I'm going... See, I'm doing this. I'm going to try to get a finger out of the way here. So you can see what's going on. Now instead of going back to this D, I just kept the same cross-picking measure and I went up to this D. So I go... And there's a one-finger approach. Now the next melody note is it goes like this. And then an F. And then it'll run down to a D again. So since I'm up here, I don't want to jump back here for the F again, so I went ahead and got this F. Right there. And then it's going to go F, E, D. So rather than play it here, I decided to get the open note. And that's a nice little floaty measure. So. And I developed that once again by messing around with the one finger approach, seeing what I could do with this. I toyed around with even coming up here to get the F. So. Something like that. But you know, you could certainly do that. Just carry this whole theme up and down the string here, like this. That came out once again from using one fingers and fooling around with them. It's a practice game, and it's something that you do to help explore the fingerboard and to force yourself out of your little box, force yourself out of your memorized tinky box, and to ask yourself, which are the important notes here. If I only had one finger and I could only play so many notes, what notes would I pick for this song? And I mostly demonstrate this technique when I'm in a workshop or whatnot, and people talk about, oh, well, I can't move my fingers as fast. And so I take that one finger deal and I say, you know, if you had one finger, you could do pretty good. And I'm in normal tuning here. Just think what would happen if I went to an open G tuning, like a banjo or something, like Keith Richards does on electric guitar. Boy, or slide guitar, you know. When you go to slide, you got one finger, and you're doing pretty good with that slide. And so that's really an extension of this. Playing with one finger could take you right into slide playing territory. You know, you do this, and then you got maybe one more finger to help you get some other notes. So it's the same deal. It just helps you understand the fingerboard and forces you out of your box, helps you come up with some different arrangements, which you can then develop. And it helps you with your dexterity and that sort of thing. So it's a fun thing to do. You ought to take some tunes and fool around with them and see what you can do with one finger. And just for example, here's Salt Creek. Okay, so here's Salt Creek with all your fingers. Here's one finger. Okay, something like that. I didn't mean to go up here, so let me do that again. See. Let's see. And then you need an F. Okay, so I kind of like that. So I might use that with all my fingers now. I'm going to go like this. And then. Okay. See, I kind of like that idea of taking that C and sliding it on up into here for that phrase. Just something that came to me as I was fooling around with that. So have fun with it and give it a shot, you know. Play with it for a little while and see what happens.